Hi guys, Steve Good here with the Scroll Saw Workshop. Every year, usually a little later in the month or a little later in the year, I do these personalized Christmas ornament patterns for people, and this year is no different. The only difference this year is that I started a little earlier than normal. And because I started a little earlier than normal, I thought I could do slightly more complicated patterns. And this is one of them. This is the segmented angel personalized Christmas ornament. And because it's a little more complicated, some people haven't seen this style pattern before, and I've had many requests for a demonstration on how to make the segmented angel part of this pattern. Now, if you do order this particular pattern, it comes in two styles. You can either use the segmented pattern that you see here, or also just give you a simple fretwork angel that you can cut out and apply without having to do the segmentation. So you can do it either way you want. But tonight I'm going to take you through the steps on how to cut this segmented angel. I use two different species of wood. In this case I've got maple and walnut. And if you look up here, you can see this is the fretwork angel that you can cut, and this is the segmented angel. So with each pattern, I give you both choices. And if you find this a little too complicated, or you don't have quite as much time to get them finished, then by all means you can use this one and it'll look fine. So print out the pattern, select your wood. I've now cut the wood down to size, and I've cut out the patterns that I want to use. In this case we're going to do the segmented, and on the walnut I put the backer board for the ornament with the personalized name. I did something a little different. Recently another scroller showed me this product called Peel and Stick Clear Laminate. It's shelf paper is what it is, only it's clear. So instead of using the blue painter's tape that I normally use underneath the pattern, I thought I would give this Peel and Stick a try tonight. So a little extra added feature for you here. This is the clear laminate peel and stick. It comes in 12-inch by 36-foot rolls. So one roll of this is going to last a long time, and it's much cheaper than the blue painter's tape. This whole roll was under $6. The nice thing about it is you can cut one piece to cover your whole blank. Here I've laid out the peel and stick, and I've put the slab of wood that we're going to use, and I'm just going to trace around it with my X-Acto knife and cut out the sheet we need. And I've peeled it off the backer paper and applied it to the wood. I've got the pattern ready. I'm going to spray the back of the pattern with spray adhesive and apply the pattern right on top of the peel and stick. Now there's a couple reasons that we use the blue painter's tape, or in this case the peel and stick, and that is it makes the pattern much easier to remove from the wood. It doesn't leave any glue residue from the spray adhesive on the wood that you have to clean off, and also it makes your blades last longer and prevents some burning of wood, especially when you're using something like cherry or a thicker wood where the blade will build up heat and tend to burn the wood. The tape prevents that by lubricating the blade. And you can see here I went over to the saw and I cut out the backer board of the ornament with the name on it, and you can see how easily I can just peel that pattern right up, and it came off just as easy as it could be. So we've completed the backer board. Now we're getting ready to start on the segmented angel. I have done the same thing with this. I've put the peel and stick on the board. You could use blue painter's tape, or in this case, if you wanted to, you could just apply the pattern directly to the wood. We're only cutting 1/4 inch thick wood here, and you generally don't have a lot of burning, but I still prefer to use the tape, or in this case the peel and stick, just because it makes it easier to remove the pattern. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your blank over to your scroll saw, and you're going to cut each individual piece out. So I created a starter hole right here. I cut around the bottom wing, and I'm going to keep going, and next I'm going to cut around this wing, separate that piece, the head, the face, the arm, and I'll cut around these whole segments right here. Even though we've got cut lines, I'll save those to last. Here, let me go back a slide. This piece right here is what I'm going to have ready to cut next. And because these pieces right here are kind of small, they have a tendency to want to drop through the hole in the scroll saw table. So what I did is I just took some of that same peel and stick and cut a slit in it, put it over the hole, and I'm using that as a zero clearance, so when I cut these pieces off they won't fall into the hole. Now what I do is I have another another sheet of the pattern printed out here also, and I just use that as a reference to line everything back up. So here I've got all the pieces back over to workbench. I haven't removed the pattern yet, so I've just got them laid out to where I know where they are and where they go. Okay, now I'm going to do this in assemblies. So the first assembly I'm going to do is going to be this part of the gown of the angel. So that's these three pieces is right here. What I want to do is every place where there is an edge that's going to connect with another edge, I actually want to sand or create a round over on each of these edges right here, here, and here. And we're just going to do this as an assembly. Now when we put this together we'll have to have a round over here also, but I like to do it as assembly. So I'm just going to do these three pieces. You can use sandpaper, or in this case I'm using a Dremel tool with a sanding drum on it. The sanding drum on the Dremel tool goes much faster, but I have done these with hand sanding and that works fine also. So whatever you have handy, that's what you're going to use. Here you can see where I've just done a round over, and I did it on the bottom of this piece, the top of this piece, the bottom of this piece, and the top of this piece. Next, I'm going to glue this assembly together. I try to use a sharp stick or something to apply the glue. I only want it to be close to the bottom half of the pieces, that way we don't have any squeeze out up into the area that we've rounded over. And I'm going to glue these three pieces together as an assembly. And now I'm going to set the assembly up here to dry. I'm going to move on to the next part of the gown. Again, three pieces. I'm going to do the same thing with those three pieces. And I'm going to do that with each assembly. So I considered this an assembly, this, and this as assemblies. So you can see I did all the round over between every place where two pieces touched. I'm going to let that glue dry, and then I'm going to start gluing the assemblies together. So I've gone ahead and rounded over this edge on both pieces. I rounded over here, and on the end of the arm I rounded over between the wings and the hair, and again between the face and the hair. Then I glued this piece to this piece, this piece to this piece. I've got one assembly there of those. I did the same up here, glue these pieces back together, and now I have two assemblies. I can complete now my round over along the top of the gown and the bottom of the arm and the hair, and I can glue those together. So now I've got one assembly, all the pieces are all glued together, and you'll notice that wherever two pieces contact each other I did a round over. I didn't round over the outside of the wings. I just used this fine sandpaper to just remove the fuzzies on the bottom and just lightly round over around the edges of the pattern, but you don't have to have a real significant round over like you do on the main pieces. I also sanded the back to make sure everything was smooth, and again I waited for everything to dry before I did that. Once I get everything smooth on the back, what I want to do is apply a dab of glue on every individual piece. The reason I do that is when I glue it to the backer, I want each individual piece to also be glued to the backer plus to each other, and that just gives you a much more secure connection without the worry of, say, the hand breaking off. Apply that piece to the ornament like I have shown here. Put a heavy weight on it and let it dry for several minutes. Then I take it over, and in my case the finish that I use is just a spray acrylic or a spray lacquer. I spray both the front and the back, and we have our finished ornament ready to give to, in this case, my wife Patty. So that's how the segmented ornament for the angel is done. They do take a little bit longer, but I think the results are pretty enough that it's worth your time, especially since we have several days before we really have to get in a rush to do the Christmas ornaments, depending on how many you're going to make. Now, the way I'm doing this, in case you haven't looked, if you go to my blog, I have 3 different normal patterns like this. I've got this one, a manger scene, and a basic pattern. I also have 2 pet ornaments, one for a dog and one for a cat. I have a large door ornament that's about 14 inches tall, and all of these patterns are $1 a piece for the 3 regular ornaments, $2 a piece for the pet ornaments, and $5 for the door hanging ornament. The 3 ornaments, this one can have a date on it, the manger can have a date on it, and the basic can have well, when I say the date, I mean a year. They can all have the year put on them. You have to order a minimum of 5 names at a time for these style ornaments and the manger ornaments. The dog and cat ornaments, there are no minimum on those. You can just order one, and they're $2 a piece. And the door hanging ornament, the large ornament, is $5 per pattern. So I hope you enjoy this little tutorial, and it's shown you a couple things about how to put these segmented angels together. I thank you for being here with me at the Scroll Saw Workshop, and we'll see you next time.